welcome again to this symposium, and we are holding this symposium in honor of FAO's International Year of Fruit and Vegetables. And as I said, I'm Renee Borges, and my co-host for today is Professor K.R. Shivanna from ATRI in Bangalore. Just to introduce, why is FAO so concerned about fruit and vegetables? And of course, I've taken this from PNAS in 2020, where you can see the relationship between human systems and natural systems. And I'm just going to draw your attention to how the interaction between human systems and natural systems can affect food produced, the quality of the food, can help to reduce hunger, and also importantly to reduce malnutrition. And by malnutrition, I mean it's not enough just to get calories in terms of rice and wheat, but we need to get all the vitamins and all the other important micronutrients from things like fruit and vegetables. So here you can also see how important nature's contribution to people has been evaluated. And right on the top of the screen, almost, in second place, is now pollination and dispersal of seeds and other propagules, which means that this is really now being considered to be extremely important. And I hope that this symposium will also convince you of, the importance of this service that wild organisms are providing and nature is providing to human beings. It's a little important for us to also remember that plants have different pollen transfer requirements because of their breeding systems. And for example, a plant like nutmeg, which has trees that are female and trees that are male, they will require pollinators to actually transfer the gametes from a male to female. Or if you have something like a pumpkin, which has male flowers and then female flowers separately on the same plant, you will still often need a pollinator to make that transfer in order to get the pumpkin fruit. You could also have things like Rudraksha, which is quite important in India, where the flowers have male and female components, but still require a pollinator to do the pollen delivery services. So now with issues like climate change becoming so important, and in the academy, we've had several talks on climate change and variability, and you can see that not only is carbon dioxide increasing, temperatures are increasing, we're getting frequent heat waves and a lot of variability in rainfall. This can affect pollination as well as seed dispersal services, because it can affect the lifestyle and the survivorship of different stages of the pollinator or the seed disperser and different stages of the plant and the animal. So together, you can have lots of places where you can have a breakdown in the services that are being provided by nature. In a recent report that we just did, my lab just did for the Ministry of Environment and Forests, we actually tried to do a meta-analysis of what is known about pollination in many systems, and we divided all the plants into a number of utility types, whether it be timber plants or spices or honey plants, etc. And we did a huge meta-analysis, and we found, and this is the extent that pollination actually increases the yield of plants. And we chose, studies that had really been very, very well done. And you can see, and this is just a snapshot, that in lots of plants, you get an increase in yield when you improve the pollination service. So this is really a very important sort of meta-analysis that we have done. Moreover, we've also, it's important that not only yield, but also the seeds per fruit, the quality of the fruit, as well as if you lack pollination services, you will often land up in fruit malformation. And here are just some examples of fruit that have received inadequate pollination. So you can see malformed apples, malformed strawberries, and this is a cucumber that has received good pollination compared to its stunted individuals that haven't received good pollination. So you can clearly see, therefore, how important pollination is. In our study of the literature, we also discovered that flies are very important pollinators. For example, a fly like this, which is different from our house fly, it's a Chrysomya fly, which is very important in the pollination of mango. And several varieties of mango rely on these flies for pollination. We will see in the speakers that will be talking after me that there are many wild bee species that are responsible for pollination of many, many important plants, and many of them are listed over here. There are some plants, and the speaker just after me will be talking about a plant that is actually involved in this thing called buzz pollination, where only certain bees can vibrate the thoracic muscles and produce a sonication of the anthers, and then the anthers burst open with the sonication, and then the pollen is actually released, and you can see an image of the explosive release of pollen. In the absence of bee pollination, people have to, use vibration, things like electric toothbrushes to actually acquire the pollen from these flowers. And you can see that many plants that are important, like chilies, also require buzz pollination. So just quickly to wrap up now, I don't want to take up too much time. We've looked at the publications available in India, and unfortunately, there's very little work done on pollinator activity in relation to climatic factors, which is really a shame. Very, very little work. For example, this one piece of work which shows that some bees will not fly outside the hive when temperatures are very high. And if you relate this then to the extreme heat waves that we are having, you will see that bees will start dying or will be incapable of flight during these extreme conditions. So I would make the case that pollinators should be considered on par with fertilizers. We all seem to understand that fertilizers are important for plants, but I think that agricultural universities and the powers that be must recognize pollinators and also wild pollinators as being very, very important in this process. Now, you have noticed that this is a symposium on pollination and seed dispersers, but I've been talking more about pollinators. And the simple fact is that there are huge knowledge gaps, even bigger, for the seed dispersers. And this is a recent review in AOB Plants in 2020. And this is actually sort of laying out, bare the types of knowledge gaps and how animal movement ecologists, evolutionary biologists, modelers, computational biologists, etc., all of us have to get together to plug these knowledge gaps. And honestly, there are very, very few people in India who are even working on seed dispersal ecology. So this is my last slide, and I end here by saying, can we replace nature's gardeners? This is a slide, a picture of people hand pollinating apple trees in China because there are no pollinators left. This is taken from a very important rainforest restoration project in the Nilgiris, where seeds of plants are actually being acquired and then planted in the hope of trying to get something like this back again. But I don't really believe that we can replace nature's gardeners. So with this, I will end my brief introduction, and there'll be a lot that you will hear about in the next couple of an hour and a half or so. And please ask a lot of questions. And thank you.